Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Welcome to the Private Lenders Podcast. Chris and Jason here. As always, today we're going to be discussing the top 3 newbie lender mistakes that we see a lot of people making and discussing. We're going to dive into that in a second. But first, Jason, if you wouldn't mind, can you tell everyone about where you're going this week and why?
Sure, no problem. Going to Kiowa, actually leaving tonight for the week for the PGA Championship. My brother qualified again, eighth PGA Championship over the last few years. So excited about that. Hopefully he can make a cut for the first time. So if you are a golf fan, even if you're not a golf fan, follow along. Just go to pgachampionship.com or one of those websites and follow along. It'll be a good time if you've never been to Charleston, South Carolina. That's a really, really cool town. And the venue is cool. So
look for Danny Balin. Danny Balin's his name. Hopefully you can find him somewhere in a good spot on the leaderboard.
Absolutely.
Right,
cool. So let's dive in today. First off, if you've been inside the Hard Money Mastermind group, that's where we are doing the majority of our content. We have a lot of other free stuff there. There's premium stuff as well, but most of the stuff in there is free. We have, about 130 other private and hard money lenders throughout the country in there. And, recently we asked for some questions because, sometimes Chris and I take it for granted that, we've been hard money lenders for the last 15 years. And, we kind of forget, sometimes we do more advanced topics and we kind of skip over the basics. So not that this topic today, top 3 newbie lender mistakes, is basic. It certainly isn't. It's important. So if you're just getting started or you're advanced and you have a fund or you're lending your own money or someone else's money, it's still super important. And these are probably the 3 most important things. So again, let's dive into this. And, again, if you're just starting out or you've been around for a while, these will certainly help.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit more background on that. So these 3 things that we're going to cover, yes, they are newbie concerns and newer lenders might not be aware of how important these things are, but these 3 items also continue all the way through your hard money lending career. Like these 3 things are a daily part of our own business to this day, 13 years later. So yeah, I mean, it's white belt stuff, but it's black belt stuff too. It just depends on how good you get at it. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Number 1. One mistake that we see people making very frequently, new lenders, experienced lenders, is that they don't prioritize marketing. When they wake up in the morning, they aren't thinking about marketing. It's not necessarily on their to-do list. Could be every day, every week, whatever your plan is. It's just got to be a solid part of your operation. And for us, I mean, there is something marketing related that we're doing every day. Us and our other partners who originate loans in other markets. It's going to be some type of content, some kind of social stuff or a YouTube video or whatever it may be, an interview. It could be an email broadcast. It could be other social type posts. It could be the ads that we run and checking on those and optimizing them. But it is a part of every single day. And
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if you can say that too, then you're in a good spot. Then you got this box checked. But I'm guessing that a lot of people listening, they don't have marketing their business as part of their daily disciplines.
Yeah, it could be reaching out to newer investors, brokers, real estate agents, existing ones, going to meetup groups, going to RIA groups, creating your own kind of networking group. They're endless. We've done lots of videos on marketing and how to kind of mass approach so many people. And think about it like this. We've used this phrase a lot, but the more deals you have in front of you, the better the deals are going to be. It's that simple. If you have let's say you have $100,000 to lend out and you want to get out $100,000 over the next month and you have 10 deals, 10 opportunities to look at. Well, yeah, you might get a decent deal out of that. But what if you had 100 opportunities to look at and you only had to pick one, right? That much better. I don't want this to scare anybody, but we get about 1,000 inquiries every month. And that's just for our one office down here. We get 1,000, probably another 1,000 inquiries for our other office. And that's with tons and tons and tons of, reps and deals coming from here, deals coming from there. The phone's ringing, a broker's calling, a borrower's calling, people are emailing in, whatever it is. And it doesn't happen overnight, but if you only get a few deals a week or a month, that's not enough. It's just not. you need to be getting, I would say, even if you're just starting out, a few dozen leads every month, a few dozen, right? Get that up to 100. It's, into the hundreds eventually, but a few dozen leads will get you where you need to be, because you're going to pick the best deal that you can get. You're going to pick the best of the best deals. Like, that's just what it is. And I don't know, this kind of leads us to the second mistake, for the most part, when you don't have the right deal flow and you don't have the best deals. But be active and do what you can to try to get deals that come in the door. And the best part about it is, you do the heavy lifting up front, and not that you don't have to maintain that, but maintaining makes it a lot easier, right? A lot of those leads are repeat borrowers. They're on our email database. We did a deal for them in the past. They got referred to us from so on. So we've done videos of, and they're in, go check out hardmoneymastermind.com if you already don't have an account on that, and you'll see other videos related to this. But that's definitely probably the biggest newbie mistake, is you're not taking your marketing campaign seriously.
Because the marketing and the lead flow fuels everything else down the line. That's so it's got to start there. Like, none of the stuff works if you don't have lead flow. And we're trying to crank out, 20, 25 loans a month. Hold on. Let me move to another part of the office because I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi. Bear with us for a second here. We're going to take a walk through the HMB office where I am today.
Yeah, and what we're just saying is, if you think you can raise capital with bad deals, it's not going to happen. Capital comes. Capital is actually the easier side. It's easier to find capital when you have good deals. That's what you need to find deals, is capital, right? There's no need to go raise hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars if you don't have any good deals to back it. The good deals fuel the entire operation. So
100% true. And the trick, guys and gals, of this whole thing is to get the marketing things that you want to do weekly, monthly, daily, whatever it may be, on a schedule, on a calendar, and never miss it, right? Never miss it. It's just part of what happens in any week. So yeah, that's the key to really making it come to fruition. All right, moving on to number 2. Number 2 is a mistake we see people make often, is that they're trying to make deals work that aren't deals. And that could be for a number of reasons. Like, they need a higher loan amount than you're willing to do, and you're trying to figure out how to work that. And there are ways that it could be done, but then there's also situations where it's just not a deal. Or maybe the borrower is not somebody you want to lend money to, and you're trying to, fit a square peg into a round hole. Or maybe they are qualified and they just need the money too cheap, right? And like, you're trying to make 12 and 2, 13 and 3, whatever it may be, and they need, single digit interest rates and a point. If that's not your business model, you don't do it, right? You stick to your model, you quote what you're comfortable with. And the reason why you're able to confidently give quotes that are safe deals is because you have other lead flow. You have other calls that are going to come later today, later this week. And so you can confidently quote deals. When people are changing their business model to try and make a deal work, 9 times out of 10, it's because they don't have the lead flow that they need.
Yeah. You know how many times we've been told, hey, if you get a little bit cheaper, a little bit higher, you can have the deal. You know how many times we've had business partners that, in our other offices reach out to us, be like, hey, I think I can save this deal if we go a little bit cheaper. How many loan officers we've had in our office that want us asked to do that? Thousands and thousands and thousands of times, right? It happens on a regular basis. It doesn't make sense financially as a business model. It doesn't make sense. Across the board. You have a model that works for you, and you could still be tweaking it, but you got to stick to that model. That's how it works. Because guess what? Let's say you start at 13 and 3, and then you decide to go to 12 and 2. Well, it's going to be hard to go back to 13 and 3, right? And then then 12 and 2 is going to turn into 11 and 1, and then 10. Next thing you know, you're working for free, and you're just, you're working for free, right? And there's no point. We've done the math on it. Think about this. Think about if you, let's say you give your capital investor 10%. And it doesn't matter if it's your own money or a capital investor, but let's just say you have a capital investor, you give them 10% and you're charging 13 and 3, right? You get the 3 points plus the 3% arbitrage on the money, right? Which is similar to how we do it. Now, let's say you go down a little bit, right? You cut a point here, you cut an interest rate here. Well, all of a sudden you have to do twice as many loans to make the same amount of money. I don't know about you, but most of us didn't become hard money lenders or private lenders to go do hundreds of deals or, do volume with skinny margins. That's not the game, right? Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? What do you want to go lend money and, make a few thousand bucks and that's it, for the month, instead of making significantly more? It doesn't work. And keep in mind, there's risk involved in these deals, right? Like, it's not like a mortgage company or a bank where, we're going to charge 10% for this person because they're lower risk, 11% for this person because they're higher risk. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't, you changing the interest rate is not going to change how risky or less risky the deal is. The point is, you got to create the model based on what you believe makes the most sense. Now, most of this conversation right here has been about cost, but it's also LTV wise. You can't go off a higher LTV against your model. It just won't work. And too many people have tried, and we're in a really interesting part of the market right now, because although we're in a good market and things are selling, we know a lot of bad operators locally and throughout the country who played I'm going to lend out cheaper game so I can do more volume. I'm going to lend out higher, instead of going 65%, I'm going to go to 68 or 70% or 75%. And then margins are skinnier on that end. And even though we're in a good resale market where things are selling and portfolios are getting cleaned up, they're hurting, right? They made very little money on all their deals. Their numbers are tight, and they're taking a freaking bath right now on stuff. So stick to your formula, stick to your model. It's the only way to do it. And also, for negotiation purposes, I was talking to one of our partners in New Jersey, and he was having a hard time negotiating about somebody. The guy kept beating him up. I was like, well, the beauty is we don't negotiate, right? You're 13-3. There's nothing to negotiate on. He's not going to beat you up on anything. Like, you can't budge on it. So it makes your life easier.
Totally does. Yeah. Don't get involved in the race to the bottom, as they call it. And there's a lot of that happening in the industry right now. Okay. Moving on to number 3. Another mistake that we see newbies making is that they don't treat investor relations and raising capital like a daily part of the business, which it is and should be. Granted, you can be in different phases of that. You could be in your growth phase where you're actively raising and you're talking about spending your time reaching out to and presenting to potential new capital investors, right? Because they're new to your operation. And then later on, it blends into part just investor relations, like answering people's questions, getting deals funded, communicating with them about new deals, and still doing some raising. And then later on, it's just mainly like where we are 13 years in the business. It's mainly investor relations, like ongoing maintenance type stuff, getting deals funded, answering questions. There's a monthly routine. I have a call with a few people a month. And it's not so much actively raising anymore, but it's still part of the daily business. When we are chatting with people in the mastermind and working with our consulting clients, we do hear a lot. People say, look, I haven't had a whole lot of luck raising capital. Can we talk more about that sort of thing? And I always ask them, like, how many people have you been in front of? How many people have you reached out to? How many presentations have you done? And the answer is typically a very low number, 0, 1, 2, maybe 3. And that's just not enough reps. We have actively investing with us nowadays, probably like 60 or 70 individuals, something like that. And it's plenty, and it continues to grow. But those 60 or 70 people who came on board with us, and it took time, it took years to build that investor base, that is a result of a lot of meetings and calls and pitches and follow-up and marketing to the investor side. It wasn't like I had a couple meetings, it didn't work, and I was like, oh, raising capital doesn't work, right? Or this system of raising capital doesn't work. Yeah. There are reps involved. Like, think about it like, in some like Wall Street type firms, like there's people who their entire job is IR. They call them IR, investor relations. All they do is raise capital. That's all they do. They, meet new people, present to them, court other ones, have ongoing relationships, go out on freaking boats, take them out, steak dinners. Like, it's a part. It doesn't have to be a full-time operation in a company like ours, because we don't need $500 million or like $6 billion or something like that. There's a cap to how much we can put out into the deals that we want to fund. But definitely early on, it was heavy lifting. It was just a daily sales job. Look at it that way.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, raising capital today has way more advantages than it did back when we started with stuff, right?
True.
The real estate market just crashed. Nobody wanted to get into real estate. People were scared of real estate, right? So, a big pitch was, with us, and it always is, in general, real estate might not be good, but there's always an opportunity there, right? Someone might be buying a property for $200,000, only want a loan for $50,000. Like that exists, right? And those were the deals that we pushed investors into. We got them these slam dunk home run deals at the beginning to get them interested on stuff. And it takes time. No investor typically will invest in their second deal until their first deal performs and matures, right? Now, the beauty of this is you don't have to wait tons of time, right? You wait a few months or a year max, and they flip the property, and then they put more capital and more capital and more capital, and then they tell their friends and their family. So it's a snowballing machine, but it's got to be taken seriously, and you've got to have good deals. And go tune into the Hard Money Mastermind and check out some of the other videos that we've done related to raising capital and working with capital investors and understanding just personality assessments, so you know what it is. But again, there's two sides of this business. There's the capital side and there's the deal flow side, and both of them have to be working side by side. When we started out, I was hustling to try to find deals and opportunities. Chris was hustling to find, capital to match with those opportunities. And, unfortunately, it's never even, right? Sometimes you had more deals and then we didn't have enough capital. Sometimes you bring on a new capital investor, they have more capital, not enough deals. And we had to be patient, because just because we had a lot of capital available doesn't mean we had the right opportunity at that time. So it's got to be treated as a business. And that doesn't mean it can't be part-time, but devote whatever, an hour a day to potentially, email some of your prospects. I remember back in the day, we sat down with everybody we can get, everyone who was interested, real estate investors. Sometimes there's real estate investors that were borrowers of ours and then they turn into lenders. We sat down with every hard money lender in the area. Hard money lenders are allies. They've always been allies. They pass deals. And guess what? Sometimes hard money lenders don't want to originate. Sometimes they'd rather just make a good return on their capital and just let you be the lender, or let you be the originator and the hard money lender. And they just want to be a passive investor. We have a lot of lenders that are capital investors of ours that are in that exact same situation. So it was really just reaching out to every single person that we knew and, telling them about it. And one thing I've always learned about direct marketing to businesses is this makes your life a little bit easier. You don't have to approach that person with the sales spiel of doing business with them. It could be doing business with other people, right? So you have a meeting with somebody, it's like, hey, I just want to see if you knew anyone else that might be interested in working with us. Indirectly, obviously you want them to, you want to do business with them, but sometimes people don't like kind of full court pressing people. So it's always a good way to be like, hey, I know you know a lot of high net worth individuals, or I know you know a lot of real estate investors, or I know you know a lot of real estate agents. I was wondering if you could help me, get in touch with some of them. And indirectly, they look at it as like, wait a sec, I could be your client as well. So it was just kind of getting in front of everybody that we could. We never knew. Sometimes it hit, sometimes it didn't. But you got to create that snowball. And filling up your capital bucket is the same thing with filling up your deal flow bucket. People reach out to you. Sometimes they're instant, and you can use their capital in a few months. Sometimes 5 years later they reach out. We've had vendors of ours that reach out, be like, I've been following you guys for a long period of time. I don't know why I never really thought about this, but can you deploy capital for me? So
with time, it happens. Yeah. With time, that definitely does happen. So just to sum up those three common mistakes that we see people making, because you see how connected they are, right? So it starts with the marketing in the front, because you need that gasoline for the rest of the engine. You need that deal flow, and that allows you to do good deals and not to budge on your terms and your risk level. And that allows you to raise capital because you have good deals that people want to fund. Trust me, capital investors need to deploy money and earn a rate of return on their money. And they get annoyed when it's sitting in cash on the sideline and they don't have something good to put it into. So if you have deals, they want to fund them. They do. And if you present good deals to the right people, you will have capital. And over time, you will have more capital than you can deploy. That is a good problem to have. I hope you get there one day. And
Deal capital always grows faster than deal flow at the end.
At scale.
At scale. That's always going to be what happens. Go watch some of our past videos related to Rule of 72, right? Our capital investors are doubling they're getting around a 10% rate of return. So every 7 years, they're doubling their money, right? With just without putting any more in, right? They want to put more in. They have their friends and families that want to put more in. It grows. When you're here today and you're not thinking big, you think it grows small, but when you look back, it grew really, really big very, very quickly, right? So, a year ago, a year from now seems like it's a long time, right? But a year ago seemed like it was yesterday. And so just keep doing those positive things every day, looking for deals, sticking to your guns and trying to, get capital and meet with people with capital. It all comes together and it's one big circle and it works out great.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does if you put in the work. In the meantime, let's continue the conversation in the mastermind group, hardmoneymastermind.com. Let us know what you're up to, what your business looks like, what you need help with. We'll jump in. Other members will chime in and we'll keep growing together. So we totally appreciate you checking out the Private Lenders Podcast. And don't forget to take a look for Danny Balin at the PGA Championship this week in South Carolina.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this episode or any other episodes of the Private Lenders Podcast, feel free to give us a 5-star rating and potentially a review. That helps us share this with everybody. And again, hardmoneymastermind.com already has about 130 private and hard money lenders throughout the country. So if you're interested in growing and learning, check it out, create a free account. See you guys.